The Northwest Province annually plays host to a number of rounds of the MSA Off-Road Championship, and the most notable event, and the second oldest of that, is the Mitsubishi Baberspan 500. The inaugural Baberspan 500 took place in 1977 and was won by the racing legend Bobby Althoff in a Chev Nomad. Over the years, the Reinecker family dominated, with the late Hendrik Reinecker winning 3 times and his son Appie winning a record 6 times. Reigning production vehicles champions Neil Woolridge and Kenny Skolthammer picked up the laurels in 1998, 99 and 2000. 1999 winners Franz Czepek Sr. and Jr. got their 2001 campaign off to a scorching start by winning the first race of the season.
Well, we won the Lichtenberg overall, which was lovely. This morning we've got 2 trucks ahead of us, the 2 factory Nissans, and they're very, very quick. And this is very fast terrain. They're faster than us, but if it gets a bit rougher out there, maybe we'll be able to do something.
While the Czepeks have a 4-point lead over their Class A rivals, Greg Harvey and Boy Stone, the dark horse could well be the Class B entry of Gavin Gray and Johan van Jaarsveld from KwaZulu-Natal. Veteran Cliff Barker and Malcolm Joubert trounced the factory teams in their BMW M3-powered Land Rover at Lichtenberg.
We don't have a sponsor, so we don't have to answer to anybody. So what we're going to do is go out as hard as what we can and see what happens. Make these work teams work for their money.
Schumi and Clinton van Vieren lead Class D, but trail Barker by 4 points in the overall standings. Barker cannot afford to relax when one looks at some of the names breathing down his neck. Baberspan and the adjoining Leeuwpan are fed by the Harts River via a canal that General Jan Smuts had dug decades ago. The area is an ornithological mecca, but for one weekend a year, the peace is shattered when the off-road fraternity arrives to compete in the Mitsubishi Baberspan 500. A star-studded entry of 86 special and production vehicles made the annual pilgrimage to what is a predominantly agricultural area. The pits were a hive of activity as teams prepared to take on the all-important 50-kilometer time trial, which determines the starting order for Saturday's 2 loops of 253 kilometers each. The American-built Ford Ranger of Neil Woolridge made its long-awaited debut on SA soil.
That's an American Ford Ranger. Everything is completely Ford. It's running the Ford 302 V8 engine through a 3-speed automatic gearbox. The Ford 9-inch diff at the back. Suspension's really, really awesome. As the Americans say, it can jump over anything, you know, and I think it's going to be really, really good in the rough stuff. As I say, unfortunately, it's 2-wheel drive, so it's going to be a bit of a disadvantage. But then the Americans run in 2-wheel drive all the time as well. It's an interim car for us. Our new car gets here in July, which is based on the current South African double cab, which has been built in France for us, which will be a FIA T3 homologated car, which we'll use in the Dakar Rally as well. So we're really looking forward to July when that car comes. That's really going to be awesome. I personally think it's going to be the best car in the world, so that's what we're really waiting for. I'm just ticking the days off waiting for that car to arrive.
Even the clown, Bucks Carolyn, finds time to humor his French technician who prepares the works Mitsubishi Pajero. And what are Carolyn's views regarding the new corrected time starting procedure?
I think that it's a lot more beneficial for the competitors, because when you pass a guy, you know what position you're in. So if you pass a guy, you know you're in 4th or 3rd. Beforehand, you didn't know. The only drawback in the thing is in a dusty race, which I presume this is going to be, is that the safety is a little bit jeopardized, especially in the first 60 Ks, especially if the first, say, 10 competitors are within a minute of each other. If you take a chance, then you're going to lose a wheel. So you're going to have to drive with your brains, and I think maybe it's good for the sport.
Multiple former special vehicle champion Richard Schilling took time out from a hectic business schedule to enter the Mitsubishi Baberspan 500 in the Class B Nissan-powered Plastertech race code.
I've really retired from full-time racing in terms of the top class. I've built a nice B-class car, and when the time is available, I'd like to go racing with Ashley, do the nationals, and maybe 1 or 2 regionals with my daughters. It looks like father and son seems to be very much the in thing in off-road, so maybe I'll start the father and daughter fashion.
The Vacation Vans team was out in force with a 2-car entry for Stratford Quirk in the Ford Ranger and motorsport legends Sarel van der Merwe and Scott Abraham in the huge Jeep Cherokee.
There's some very good equipment in this year's Baberspan. You know, the Nissans are supercars, done all this, really did a hell of a job. And of course we have the Pajero that's done that car. But this car is something quite unique. It's probably got the best suspension in the field. Maybe a bit down on power because of the power to weight. The car's really too heavy. But it's got a very nice flexible engine, so I think it should be ideal for the situation, the conditions here.
The American-built Ford Ranger is powered by a 3-liter 4-cylinder engine coupled to a 2-speed automatic gearbox, and the cockpit has room for the driver only. Stratford Firth explains the features of the unique air suspension.
It runs a full air suspension. They use no coils, anything like that. The harder you pump up the air, the higher the car goes up. Then it also heats it. It heats the shock absorbers up by means of the engine temperature. So it's got the heat exchanger from the engine, from the radiator to the shock absorbers. So we heat our shocks up, we don't cool them down.
Also making its debut was the Class E Castrol Toyota Condor for veteran Kasi Kutsia and Aki Uber. The near-standard Condor was built at Toyota's engineering center in Durban and features uprated suspension, a standard 2.4-liter fuel-injected engine, a standard 5-speed gearbox, and limited slip differential. The Lichtenberg 400 proved to be disastrous for the Nissan team. Hannes Robler and Richard Leek rolled the Nissan hardbody super truck at high speed, and there was some doubt at the time whether or not it could be rebuilt in time for the Mitsubishi Baberspan 500.
It was a bit more severe than we thought. We had to replace the whole body on the car. Luckily the frame was all straight and the engine, the gearbox was fine. It's been a tough couple of weeks. I thought we'd be a bit easier than before the last event. But we're feeling pretty confident. We've done some good testing, and I think the car's going to be a lot faster, certainly over the rough than it was before, and maybe not quite so quick in the tight sections. So we'll have to see how it pans out.
And so to the 50-kilometer time trial. Hannes Robler and Richard Leek gave notice that a debut victory for the Nissan was imminent by posting the fastest time, 48 seconds ahead of teammate Haniel de Villiers, shown struggling through the mud. The touring car star had adapted well to off-road racing and would start almost 3 minutes ahead of the Castrol Toyota Land Cruiser of R.P. Reineke and Robin Houghton, who would in turn start 10 seconds ahead of Bucks Carolyn and Henny Tersteger in the Works Mitsubishi Pajero. Carolyn has won this event twice, once as a driver in 1993 and once as a co-driver for Shamir Variawa last year. Schumi and Clinton Van Buren were fifth fastest and the Class D leaders in their very quick Castrol Toyota Land Cruiser, a mere 3 seconds behind the Mitsubishi Pajero. One of the leading privateer crews in the production vehicle category, Cliff Weitheld and Johan Smallberger, would start 17th overall and 6th in the production vehicle category in their Lexus V8-powered N1 4x4 Toyota Land Cruiser. An airlock in the fuel system slowed the vacation band's Jeep, and Cyril van der Merwe had to be content with the 30th fastest time overall. Would it be a case of third time lucky this year? Woolridge and Skuldhammer took the opportunity to get to grips with the handling of the Ford Ranger and did not seem to be too phased by starting 33rd. Last year they came from the back to win. Winners of the special vehicle category in 1999, the Chevex continued on their winning ways to post the fastest time among the special vehicles. They had to be content with third overall behind the Nissans and were only 8 seconds clear of Henry Kirstein and Renier Juster in the ex-Bevan Berthold race car. The hard-charging Duplessis brothers were third in their Porsche-powered Chenoweth, 46 seconds behind Kirstein. The Greg Dowse and VZ Van Sale in the M&E Glass race car were a further 14 seconds adrift in fourth place. Former special vehicle champions Greg Harvey and Boy Stone chased hard in their Toyota Lexus V8-powered Queen Motorspares Jimco, wrestling fifth place away from father and son Gary and Bodo Berthold in the M&E Glass Raceco, who were 5 seconds slower than the Jimco. Stratford Firth surprised everyone with a fine 6th fastest time in the vacation van's Ford Ranger. He was only 3 seconds slower than the Berthold and would start 9th overall on the Saturday. A look at the top 10 starters for Saturday's 506-kilometer haul. The 2 factory Nissans occupy the top 2 places, followed by 10 special vehicles before the next production vehicle gets underway. Sunrise over Baberspan as the crowds wait in eager anticipation for the action to begin. The smiles and idle chatter among the drivers merely mask the pre-race tension. Time for a quick goodbye and some last-minute adjustments before the start of the Mitsubishi Baberspan 500, made up of 2 tough 253-kilometer loops with a service point at Leeuwpan. There is a large entry made up of 4 Fords, 19 Toyotas, 9 Nissans, 3 Colts, 4 Pajeros, 2 Isuzus, 4 Land Rovers, 1 Chevrolet and 1 Jeep, with more than 20 special vehicle entries. From the start, crews head through a muddy section, farmlands and bushveld to Setlagole before heading back to the service point. Then it's another of the same before the finish at Leeuwpan.
In the time trial we had a few problems with the dust, but luckily we're starting quite far up the field. We're starting second behind Hannes, and I think we're about 45 seconds behind him. So I think in the beginning it's going to be good for us, but it's going to be a problem for lots of guys. And, we'll have to see. I mean, you can't take any chances in the dust and hit some.
And what are Hannes Grobler's views of his young teammate, Camille de Villiers?
I'm very impressed with him, and I think more of the other off-road guys is more impressed. He took like a duck to water, and I think he's going to go far, and I think he's going to be a guy to be reckoned with this whole year, and I think he's going to be up in the front all the time.
At this type of pace that we were driving at yesterday, blistering pace, a lot of things happen, a lot of fallout, a lot of mishaps. Hopefully it doesn't happen, but it always does, and you know, so we'll see what happens. We'll just take it easy for a while and pick our way through if we can.
While there's no tension for the prolific bird life at Baberspan, the same cannot be said for the crews as Grobler and Leek come under starters orders for the Mitsubishi Baberspan 500. 3, 2, 1, and they off with a V6 Nissan engine at peak RPM. Camille de Villiers and Francois Jordan are up next as we go on board the Nissan hardbody super truck. Thick dust envelops the start line and gives a clear indication of the poor visibility crews like the Chepex and the V-Motors Chenoweth will have in the early stages. Thereafter, the action was thick and fast as one vehicle after the other left the start line, sometimes only seconds apart. Lawrence and Para Duplessis are delvers or diamond diggers in the region and know the area and conditions well. A good result was expected from the brothers. Hard-charging newcomer to off-road racing, Greg Dowse, was next away, followed by Lichtenberg 400 runners-up, Greg Harvey and Boy Stone in the Queen Motors Spares Jimco. Bodo Berthold elected to drive the first loop, and son Gary the second loop, and had Stratton Quirk to contend with in the Ford Ranger. Disappointment for the Corn Baked Foods team as they're forced to retire their brand new Jimco before the start of the race. Reigning special vehicle champion Shamir Variawa explains.
We've been having problems with the oil coolers. We've changed 4 or 5 oil coolers in the past 2 days. Trying to cool the motor down, but obviously we can't do that. I think it's something to do with the timing as well. Right now it's too late to figure it out because the race already started. But we'll sort it out and be back for the next race.
A muddy section confronts leaders Grobler and Leek, but no problems for them as the Nissan powers its way through the section. On board with de Villiers and Jordan in the second Nissan as they head for the muddy section and also sail through without any problems. Four-wheel drive certainly helps. Chepex, with Francina driving, hold a slender lead over Henry Kirstein and René Juster in the DDS Raceco, with the Duplessis brothers not too far behind in the Porsche-powered Chenoweth. Greg Dowse and VZ Pancel follow closely in the M&E Glass Raceco. Harvey and Stone would roll their Jimco into retirement soon after the section, fortunately with no injury to the crew. First took the high road and avoided the mud. He too would retire early in the race with engine problems. Overall victory has eluded Yaki Ube and university lecturer Hayes Klein in the Jojo Tank's four-wheel drive Beetle. Could this be their chance? On board with Reneker and Houghton in the Castrol Toyota Land Cruiser as they enter the muddy section and bury the truck in the mud. Former quad racers Mark and Peter Brekel just make it through the mud. Help should be on its way in the form of Shumi van Vieren and brother Clinton, but teammate Reneker waves them on. Dominating Class D is more important than losing time by helping the stranded Reneker. John Moore takes the high line and there's more drama. Cliff Weigelt and Johan Smalberger also get bogged down and right next to Reneker as almost the entire field goes streaming by. Cliff Barker surely counts his blessings as he passes two arch rivals in the sweet-sounding Barker Performance Products Land Rover. Even Api Reiniger decides to muck in an effort to free the stricken Land Cruiser as help arrives for Weichelt in the form of Jean-Pierre Joubert. Eventually, Reiniger's nephew, Hendrik, manages to pull the works Land Cruiser free of the mud, but no such luck for the hapless Weichelt. Weichelt and Smallberger lose a lot more time trying to extricate the N1 4x4 Toyota from the mud before the third N1 4x4 entry of Gabi van Deventer arrives and lends a hand. The rest of the field goes streaming by before Weichelt and his teammates get going again. 90 minutes into the race and a surprise leader. The Chenoweth of the Duplessis brothers has moved from 5th to 1st, but breathing down their necks is the Nissan hardbody of early leaders Hannes Grobler and Richard Lee. They lost their advantage while replacing a flat wheel, while teammates De Villiers and Jordan were effectively out of the running after damaging the steering and suspension of their Nissan in an unmarked Donga. Much excitement for the local population as the Chefex, with Franz Senior driving, arrive on the scene in 3rd place in the immaculately prepared Porsche-powered V Motors Chenoweth. Yaki Hubert and Pace Klein have moved from 11th to 4th and are closing on the leading bunch. However, they would later retire with mechanical problems. Local youngsters wait in eager anticipation for the arrival of the monster vacation van's Jeep of Cyril van der Merwe and Scott Abraham, which has made up a whopping 25 places and was now 6th overall and 3rd in the production vehicle category after only 90 minutes of racing. That's quite some driving from the veteran. Horsepower of a different kind as Schumi van Vieren looms into view in the Castrol Toyota Land Cruiser, a comfortable leader in Class D. Schumi and brother Clinton have been racing off-road since their youth. Bugs Carolyn and Henny Testega have come to grips with the ex-Dakar Mitsubishi Pajero and were content to be sitting in 7th position midway through the first 253-kilometer loop, but had ex-motorcyclist Nick Harper to contend with. 8th overall and 2nd in Class D, Hein Kobler and Gerard Prinsloo in the Nissan hardbody. A grandstand view of a different kind for some intrepid local spectators. The big Ford Ranger of Woolridge and Stolthammer looms into view in 14th place after starting 33rd. More action on the way. Kirstein and Juster have dropped down the field and now have a gaggle of pursuing vehicles behind them. Class B leader Johan van Jaarsveld, followed by Class D contender Nas LaRue in the Age of Colt, and a hard-charging Api Reiniger, who would retire a half an hour later with a broken rear suspension. The Class E battle was being won at this point by Manfred Schroeder and Jack Peckham in the Works Ford Ranger, which made its debut in last year's Roof of Africa. Tang Makakaneni and Evan Hutchinson started 79th in their Hellman Worldwide Logistics Gymco and had made up 35 places, but were closely followed by Weichelt and Smallberger, who were now faced with having to make up for time lost while stuck in the mud shortly after the start. Camille de Villiers effected running repairs to the damaged Nissan and was now on a charge through the field. Two hours into the race and a large crowd of spectators, service crew and team management await the arrival of the leaders at a road crossing on the Dallarayville-Setlagoli Road. Much to the delight of the Nissan management, Grobler and Leek emerge from the bush in the lead with the Chefex hot on their heels. Some encouragement from the service crew and the Chefex are on their way. Later complained of getting lost in this section of the route, which explains the dramatic change in the race order, which now sees Carolyn and Testega moving to 3rd place ahead of Greg Dowse and VZ Van Sale. The Bertholds, the Breckel brothers in only their 2nd race in a car, and Schumi van Vieren in the Class D leading Castrol Toyota Land Cruiser. The growling 5.9-litre Mopar V8 engine of the Vacation Van's Jeep alerts spectators to the arrival of Supervan and Abraham, now 8th overall. Johan and Frieda van Jaarsveld held on to a tenuous lead in Class B in their prolonged Aceco and were coming under increasing pressure from Richard Schilling and Ashley Thorne in the Plastotech Raceco. Reigning Class B champion Phil Nell in the Look Truggy has not had matters his own way this season and will have to pull something out of the bag if he wants to retain his title. The service point at Leopan, and it's the Nissan of Hannes Grobler and Richard Leek that arrives first with the Chepex in hot pursuit. Mechanics go to work replacing flat wheels, topping up fluids and refueling. Next to arrive is the third-place Mitsubishi Pajero of Carolyn, followed by Supervan in the Jeep. The rules call for crews to be out of their vehicles while refueling is taking place, and Vandermerwe looks on as the Pajero heads out of the pits. Then it's back into the cockpit for Vandermerwe and Abraham. Could there be problems for the Woolwich Ford Ranger? Schumi and Clinton van Pieren head for their pit as new Class D leader Hein Krobler cools down, while the service crews give the Nissan hardbody a quick once-over. Back at the Ford pit, concerned looks indicate engine problems for Woolwich and Skuldhammer. Mike Griffith and Duncan Fast arrive in the pits and change places while the crews refuel the Nissan hardbody. Disaster for Class E leaders Andrew and Chris Perkin in the Castrol Toyota Hilux, a second puncture and valuable time lost.
Well, we've had 2 flats already and we got into a big convoy and we all got lost, so we lost quite a bit of time. It's been a bit of a rat race, but hopefully it'll be clear now and we should go well, thanks.
4 hours into the event and Grobler and Leek have a firm grip on the lead with a V6 powered Nissan performing faultlessly. The Chepex, now with Franz Jr. behind the wheel of the V Motors Chenoweth, continue their dominance of Class A and the special vehicle category. On board with Carolyn and Testega, who are still third in the Mitsubishi Pajero, now sporting a cracked windscreen after a rock-throwing incident. Cyril Vandermerwe and Scott Abraham loom into view in 4th place in the mighty Jeep. The front drop shaft dangling loose under the car means that they now only have 2-wheel drive, but that doesn't appear to slow Supervan. John Weir-Smith and Jeff Minnett's consistency in the O'Hagan's Raceco was rewarded with a fine second in the special vehicle category, while the hard-charging Schumi and Clinton van Pieren regained the Class D lead to finish 4th in the production vehicle category. Schilling and Thorne had brake problems from the 150-kilometer mark onwards, but still went on to win Class B. A relative newcomer to the sport, Mark Ferguson, drove consistently to bring the Drinks Galore Chenoweth home 4th in category and 10th overall. Some 2-wheeled homegrown talent in action. Whoops. Into the dying stages of the Mitsubishi Baberspan 500, and it's still Grobler and Leek in the lead, and convincingly so. The Chepex continue their domination of Class A and the special vehicle category. Carolyn and Testega, still in 3rd place overall, but with their vision hampered by a collapsed windscreen, cannot afford to ease their pace because they know Supervan and the Vacation Van's Jeep are hot on their heels. A rally-style approach to off-road racing from a legend. Pete Haasberg and Christo Bosch drove superbly to make up time lost when helping Reinicke out of the mud to finish 2nd in Class D in the Toyota Land Cruiser. Reigning Class D champion Hein Grobler had to contend with 3rd in Class D, while Atang Makakaneni, in only his 2nd race as a driver, was pleased to finish 9th in category after starting 79th. victory after 506 kilometers of grueling high-speed racing for Hannes Grobler and Richard Lee in the Nissan Hardbody.
I'm very, very glad that we could pull a win off, especially for the team. They worked hard from June last year to get the vehicles sorted out, and I've had 2 roles from last year till the last event, and I think we owe them something, and I think the morale is going to be a lot higher now at the Nissan camp for the guys, and I'm pleased.
Two starts, 2 finishes, and 2 wins for father and son team Franz Jepek Sr. and Jr. in the V Motors Chenoweth.
The usual story in Baberspan, people removing the markers, the locals, and sending us down the wrong roads, but we never sort of dropped further back than third, and we kept up with the leaders. I lost a bit of time in the pits, changing wheels and getting ourselves going again. Caught up to the Nissan later on in the second loop, and only to get lost again, and then we ran out of a clutch. So we did the last 60 k's of the route without a clutch.
Time for congratulations, celebrations, and a little horseplay.
How old are you?
26.
27. Combined.